I live in New York City. Um, and oftentimes I feel that I am the only American that lives here, the only Black American that lives here. I know I'm not, but I'm surrounded by West Indians. All my friends, people that are closer to me than family are West Indians. Now, my friends that are close to me, they think like me. I mean, how could you be my friend and not? But after Election Day, I shouldn't say actually Election Day, but after they finally figured out who won, these celebrations that took place in the streets here in New York were disgusting. Made me nauseous. They made me want to throw up. The excitement and the jubilation of the people that lives in this city had. We tried to tell you that these people were no different from the previous administration. We tried to tell you, do you know how many people chastised me for not wanting to vote for Joe Biden and Kamala Harris, and look where we are? We tried to tell you. I asked y'all, how many of y'all had family members and friends that got deported under the Obama administration? How many of y'all know any dreamers? Anybody who was able to benefit, any Black people able to benefit from DACA? I asked y'all and y'all told me y'all didn't know any. So I explained to you that when they talk about immigration, they are not talking about Black people. But y'all were in the streets excited, judging us for wanting our reparations before we gave them anything. It is sad to see what is happening down there. We tried to warn you. We tried to keep this from happening by explaining to you how things work here. But y'all think y'all know better than us when we have been here living with these demons for hundreds of years and centuries.
President Biden took a major step last week to slow deportations, and his allies in Congress unveiled a bill that would represent the country's most sweeping immigration overhaul in generations. Immigration reform is an enormous importance to millions of Americans, particularly the roughly 11 million undocumented immigrants living in the United States. That's a really odd statement, because if you're an undocumented immigrant, you're not an American, but that's a whole nother story. But it's also a quagmire of an issue that has led to legislative statements and disappointing numerous times in the past few weeks. With so much on their priority list, why are Democrats targeting this issue now? This is from the Times. For one, advocates say that the time has simply come. Polling data shows that the country's largely objected to President Donald Trump's crackdown of undocumented immigrants, and in fact grew considerably more favorable to immigration over the course of his administration. And Democrats are eager to shore up support from Latino voters in particular, who did not back Biden as strongly in November as his campaign had hoped. So didn't even Longoria get caught in a video saying that Latinos won the vote for Biden?
About power, and does the Democratic Party understand why it's back in power?
Yeah, I think you bring up a good point. I mean, I think, campaign financing needs to be looked at. I think the way in which we campaigned, there were so many false ads in Florida in Spanish. Spanish wasn't regulated the same as in English. And so I do think we need to take a look at that. Again, our work is just beginning. But I want to talk about what you just said about the women. The women of color showed up in big ways. Of course, you saw in Georgia what Black women have done, but the Latina women were the real heroines here, beating men in turnout in every state and voting for Biden Harris at an average rate close to 3-1.
So I'm going to read that again. And Democrats are eager to shore up support from Latino voters in particular, who did not back Biden as strongly in November as his campaign had hoped, particularly in parts of Florida, Texas, and Arizona. His primary campaign focused significantly less on Hispanic outreach than did the Senator Bernie Sanders of Vermont, Biden's main rival, who had handily won the Latino vote in the Democratic nomination contest without meaningful action, advocates say. Biden risks causing further delusionment among Latino voters. Latinos, and in our research, even swing Latinos who voted for Trump, so even the swing Latinos voted for Trump, want to see Democrats deliver on something on immigration. Carlos Adio, a co-founder of the Latino-focused data firm Equilab, said in an interview, part of what created an opening for Donald Trump was the idea that both parties were the same on this issue. So, that to me is appalling. So Latinos sat there and watched Latino children being put in cages. And they were cool with that. To not vote for the Democrats. But you want me. Biden's administration on Thursday moved to significantly curtail deportations, ordering immigration agents to seek federal approval before meeting to depart, blah, 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 blah. That was the important part right there. I don't even feel like getting into the rest of it, okay? You know, I'll post a link to the article.
So we're here at Haiti's International Airport. We just got word that a plane that's arriving from Laredo, Texas has just landed. It's full of Haitian deportees. There's supposed to be a moratorium on deportations. Yep, they're coming down right now.
Nearly 1,000 Haitians have been forced to return from the U.S. in February alone. It was just 50 in January before President Biden announced the moratorium.
Can you tell me all how you got here? Why are you here?
Nous sommes au Mexique. Nous traversons la frontière parce que nous étions des présidents de 100 jours. Pas de déportation, nous traversons. Il y a mené nous Miami.
Et la demande pour la presse à visiter prison yo. Côté qui gagne pour t'apprendre 10 moun, 15 moun, yo mette 58, yo mette 60 moun là-dedans.
Même si vous avez des gens dans la prison, j'ai respiré. Même manger, vous avez des gens pour manger dans la prison, manger, respirer, vous avez maquette, vous venez avec vous, vous avez des gens.
Manger, vous senti, vous avez goût.
This is what Haitians are coming back to. For weeks, protesters have been in bloody clashes with security forces, demanding that President Jovenel Moïse step down. The opposition says his term expired on February 7th, but Moïse is arguing that he has another year left because he didn't take office until a year after his term started. So far, it's a position that the U.S. supports. Haiti's been ravaged by rampant kidnappings and massacres carried out by gangs, some of which have been linked to the government. But the chaos here hasn't stopped ICE from sending people back. Almost all of them were stopped at the U.S.-Mexico border and expelled using Title 42, an obscure law that closes off access to the U.S. asylum system during a health emergency, like COVID-19. It was introduced by the Trump administration, but many here believe things would be different under Biden's presidency.
Depuis la montée du président Biden, au contraire, on assiste à une sorte de remontée ou encore de cas de déportation, bien entendu, à un rythme beaucoup plus régulier. Par exemple, du jadis, c'était environ 2 vols par mois, alors que de 1er février à aujourd'hui, nous sommes à peu près 15 vols sur Haïti en provenance des États-Unis d'Amérique.
A lot of the deportees that we were able to talk to say that they're terrified to come back to Haiti. You know, some have left because of domestic violence situations, kidnappings are through the roof.
Parce que le plus souvent, ils s'en plaignent de la question de l'insécurité, du kidnapping politisé, etc. Mais tant bien que mal, on est là avec ce gouvernement pour voir vraiment si on peut venir à ce qu'il y ait, je dirais, une amélioration dans la vie en Haïti.
The other concern is the pandemic. Haiti has low rates of infection compared to the U.S., but ICE confirmed that they did not test these deportees for COVID-19 before sending them back.
Parce que seulement contrôler température pour nous et puis on dit nous pas gain Covid-19. Yo prend température nous seulement, yo dit nous pas gain. Là nous arriver là, Dans l'aéroport là, ils dit nous pas gagner, nous pas mettre nous en quarantaine parce que déjà fait test corona pour nous.
This month alone, at least 270 children have been sent here by the U.S., and more flights are expected to arrive. With the country continuing to descend into chaos, asylum seekers say they have no choice but to escape.
Parce que m'gon moun qui te violé, yo obligé voyer partir al Chili, de Chili m'obligé bagay moi là, vi manger là.
Yo pas passer devant juge.
Si m'rete Haïti, y a tué non seulement Haïti, non la famille là, oui frère.
So they saying it. They saying it. So while they're sitting here, while black people won the election for Biden, not this black person, not this black person, but since black people won the election for Biden, he hasn't done a goddamn thing for you. But he's delivering to a group of people who didn't even vote for him. They said even the swing Latino voters voted for Trump. How you feel about them apples?
Sign up for free text alerts. You can find the link in my bio or in the description.
What we've been told, and I've been told by the Haitian government, is that they have been told to brace themselves. They are to receive at least 14,000, and that's a huge number. And so yesterday there were 3 flights, and you're going to start to see 3 flights a day, maybe even more. There were children, there were families that showed back up yesterday. So this is difficult. And when you talk to these migrants, unfortunately, there are a lot of rumors that are motivating them. So the journey begins in Chile, or you could say that the journey began in Haiti after 2010. You have a large number of Haitians who ended up in Chile, Brazil. I did a story a few years ago. I traveled to Chile. In 1 year, that country received 1% of Haiti's population. 100,000 Haitians migrated to Chile in a year. But life is very difficult for these Haitians there. They would like to remain in these countries, but they can't. It's very difficult. So they take this journey. It's sometimes for some it's a couple of weeks. For some it's a couple of months, 4 months, through the Darien Gap, which is the jungles of South America. It's very dangerous. Some people don't even survive it.
The picture you see, so the pictures you're seeing with this officer on his horse and literally whipping, seem to be whipping the Haitian migrant, the black body. That is not a new picture in America. That is the picture of the system, of the anti-black racism that the system is based upon. As a black woman, as an American woman, as a Haitian woman, I am horrified by that picture. I'm horrified that today in 2021, we as the United States of America are behaving in such a way where we literally do not even consider the humanity of a person, so that the world is watching, and that is the picture they are seeing. The picture they are seeing is of men in horseback whipping black bodies. That is what the world is seeing in America right now. And for them to be deporting young children into Haiti right now, that those 10,000 Haitians and other migrants who are under the bridge right now did not just come and storm the border. They have been here waiting for a chance to ask for asylum, which, by the way, is the legal thing for them to do. A lot of people end up entering without inspection, but it is not illegal for people to come and ask for asylum. But due to misinformation, as you heard from Jack and Charles, people are desperate. And if you tell them if you go here, you might have a chance to get protection. So people are leaving their respective cities, such as Tijuana and other places, coming here because they thought they might finally get protection, they might finally get to a space to call home, they might finally be able to sleep better at night. That is what we are seeing. We are not having an invasion of Haitians at the U.S.-Mexico border. We are seeing the consequence of the prior administration completely destroying the asylum system, completely destroying the immigration system with MPP, with the metering, with Title 42, that this administration continues to use as a trap to cage bodies, as we are seeing right now, black bodies, and deport them to the very danger they have fled.